Hi, and happy Video Monday. This is Tisha Mahar. This week, I have a story I want to share with you, and it's a very personal story, and so I'm not sure exactly how this will go, but I do want to share. And I've been hesitant for quite a while, for many years actually, to share this story with you. And that's simply because I really, really believe that there comes a point in everyone's healing where they have to move forward, where you have to let go of the past. You have to stop going into the past, thinking of what you could have done differently, suffering and punishing yourself. There comes a point where you need to move forward to create the life that you really want and to really become free. And so that's what happened. But before I got to that point, basically what happened is it's been almost, I think 14 years ago, I lost my dad to suicide. And this was literally my biggest fear. It was something that I had been afraid might happen my whole life. And that's simply because even as a child, I could sense his instability. He was an amazing person, a very successful doctor. Everyone adored him. He was so shiny, but he didn't see it. He was so hard on himself, and he was never good enough, no matter what. And I relate to that in a lot of ways. I'm a perfectionist like he was. Anyway, when he finally took his life, I think a few things happened. The first thing is that on a very deep, fundamental level, I think that I felt that I wasn't good enough. If I had been perfect, if I had been a good enough daughter, I would have kept him here. That's how I felt. I remember feeling that my whole life. If I can just be perfect, it won't happen. Where deep down, I knew that was how I was going to lose him. And so when it finally happened, I think that deep inside or deep in my mind, because these things are mental problems, eating disorders and stuff, these are mental issues. Deep inside me, I think I thought, I wasn't good enough, that's why this happened, that's it. And so on a very deep fundamental level, my self-esteem took a big hit in that moment. And that's one part of it. The other part is that I remember being in a closet in my beautiful apartment in Toronto because my anxiety was so strong. I couldn't even stand to be out and around, and all the stimuli, everything just made it worse. I remember being in this closet and then feeling this impulse to go for a run, which is something my dad used to love to do because it really made him feel better. And while I was running, first of all, I remember feeling his energy, like he was there with me. But while I was running, I felt this life come back into my body that I hadn't felt in so long. And you guys know what that's like. It's that natural high that exercise gives you. It's the best drug there is. And when I felt that, I was relieved. And I saw that, I think, as a way of, getting out of this place that I was in. I didn't know what I was going to do, and antidepressants did not feel like an option for me because my belief about them felt too strong. It just didn't feel like an option. And so I started running a lot, all the time. And on top of that, I went to a Bikram yoga class. And I remember after the Bikram class, laying on the ground in a pool of sweat and just, again, feeling that energy flow, that energy, that feeling of being a human. And normally, I just felt numb all the time and like a shell of my former self. And so this feeling, why wouldn't you chase that feeling? And that's what I did. So this, over time, became a real problem because I wasn't dealing with the pain inside. I wasn't dealing with the loss and all that went along with it, I was just running literally from it. And again, it's fine. I used that as a Band-Aid until I got to a place where I could really acknowledge what needed to be acknowledged. But I couldn't right away. It just hurt way too damn much. So exercise became my Band-Aid, and I did it a lot. This over time became more and more of a problem. I think that the pain would start to come up, and I would push even harder against it. And I remember even being in my apartment and doing back bend after back bend after back bend at like 3 in the morning, like a lunatic, just to get that feeling, just to feel something. And a lot of the times people will say to me, my God, you're so good at, your back bends are so beautiful. You must have been naturally flexible. And I get this image of myself in my apartment doing all those back bends. It was a byproduct of the pain, I'm telling you. Anyways, so yeah, I became good at back bends and I escaped my pain. But I knew that I couldn't live in that space forever. Now, at the same time as this was happening and this was escalating over the weeks, months, years that passed, at the same time, around the same time, interestingly, just before I lost my dad, I discovered the world of nutrition. And I was so immediately passionate about it. I had this rash on my leg, and I cut out gluten and dairy, and this rash that had been there like 8 years or more vanished within like a week. And I was convinced that this is real and amazing, and wow, like food can make that much of a difference. So my passion about it was really genuine and authentic and pure. I wanted to, eat the best food I possibly could and be as good as I could to my body, because that just made sense. But what happened is that once I lost my dad and I had no control in my life anymore, I figured out, right, this was something I could be in control of. And this happens unconsciously, of course. It's not like I realized, oh, maybe I can control this and that will help. No, eating disorders are a mental problem. They are mental illness. And so that's what happened to me. On some level, I realized that was something I could control, and so I started to control it. And I would read and research and learn and learn and learn, and I don't regret that, because now I know so friggin' much, and I really feel like I'm able to help people, and I'm damn proud of it. But it was my medicine, and others' medicine was also my poison. But I researched like a fiend, and I learned and learned and learned and learned. And I would read one book about why this food was bad. And in my mind, that food would leave the list of options of things I was ever going to eat. And then I would read a book about a really amazing food, and I'd be like, oh, that's a good one. But then I would read another book about why that good one was bad, so it would go too. And this just kept going on for years and years and years. And at first it was like, it wasn't that many things maybe, so it was fine. But it became more and more and more obsessive until the list of foods that were okay was so small that I was probably starving on so many levels. I wasn't getting the nutrients that I needed. My brain wasn't getting the fatty acids probably that it needed. My hormones were not getting the amount of dietary fat and the amount of protein that is needed in order for the hormones to produce so many things. Again, not in one day, not in 1 week, over the years. Anyway, what happened is it got to a point where I was experiencing some really crazy hormone imbalances. And this is also why I'm so passionate about helping people with hormones and women, because I know how awful it can be when your hormones are super out of whack. My cortisol was through the roof. I remember I saw a doctor, they did a cortisol test, and they were like, you're a yoga teacher. Why is your cortisol the level of a Bay Street banker? This makes no sense. I was holding it all of it. So additionally, I had all my hormones checked. And this was because at this point, when I started getting all this tests, something had already started to shift. And I knew that I needed to change. And I knew that I needed to find out what was going on. And partly it's because I was suffering. Like, there was a major problem going on with my hormones, and I couldn't stand it. So that helped me that nudged me towards healing. And I had my hormones checked, and I was in menopause at like 24 or something like that. So that was scary, obviously. And I've always wanted to have a baby. And I realized in that moment that if I didn't change and if I didn't smarten the F up, that was something that maybe wouldn't be possible for me. And that was also a little nudge. So there were things that started to nudge me in the direction that I needed to go. And but it was very tricky because I had a ton of foods on that I can't eat list. And my mom is actually the one who pointed it out. That was another really big nudge. My mom made a point, and she said exactly that. That's what's actually, I think, giving me this verbiage for it. She said something about how many more foods can you add to your not allowed list. And in that moment, like on a guttural level, I realized I'm like, there's like hardly anything. Like it got to a place where I was like living on like, celery and avocado and peanut butter and like, or not peanut butter, no, not peanut butter, because peanuts are one of the highest sprayed nuts and the funguses, and I had a whole story about everything. Every food that you can point out, I could tell you a million things, about it. Now, I want to be clear that I did not, interestingly, coach my clients this way. And every one of you who's watching this will I'm sure, affirm that I didn't coach people to do what I was doing at all. I, on some level, was coaching them to do the really healthy thing, which is focus on whole foods. Focus on, not getting obsessive about it. Focus on remembering that, like, anything that came from nature, all that. I wasn't telling them, only eat these 10 foods. No, not at all. This was my own thing. It was my own weird control thing that I needed at the time. And so there was several years that then happened where I started to work towards my healing. I knew exactly what I needed to do because I knew it all, and not all, you know what I mean. I had learned so much about the body. I knew what it needed in order to produce all of these things that I was lacking. I knew what I needed to do. I knew that I wasn't necessarily in permanent menopause and that could potentially, all come back up. I just had suppressed all of my hormones, but they could come back, and they sure did, let me tell you, and that wasn't fun either. Because going through second puberty when you've repressed your hormones for a long time is really, really horrible. So there was a lot of shit I had to face for doing this to all these years. But again, it was all part of the journey. Okay, where am I now with this tale? So, yeah. Next week, I'm going to tell you about all of the things that I did that were incredibly helpful in this healing journey. And I definitely want to give you some tools for what you can do if you are in a situation where you have orthorexia, which is basically an obsession with healthy eating. It is the 21st century eating disorder, and I cannot tell you how many other health coaches I have talked to that have told me they have the exact same thing. So many people, because sometimes the more you learn, the more it can hurt you. Yes, nutrition is powerful, and it is important to learn about how to eat in a healthy, balanced way and get all the nutrients that you need. Those things are key. But those are the fundamentals, guys. Things are going crazy. There's a book about why, you can't eat all the foods that contain lectins now. There's a book about, why everything, absolutely everything. And it wasn't always like that. And so my main thing that I do with my clients now is, first of all, anything that is off, we work on fixing those things, deficiencies, hormone imbalances, whatever. But the food, the relationship with food is a huge thing for so many people. Also my clients, I see so many people totally coming to me stressed and anxious and about what to eat, because nobody knows what to eat anymore. There's been a book written about everything that you shouldn't eat. So this is also so inspired in me the desire to want to share my story, because I have been there too. And I've told some of my clients a little bit about my own struggles with that. I just haven't done the full-on YouTube video about it yet. But it is a real problem nowadays. And I've seen some of you guys talking in the Facebook group, and I know you're struggling with it too. And it's all out of control. And you need to realize that if you're in that space where you are, clinging to these certain ideologies with all of your might, it's likely not so much about the food. When it comes to eating disorders, it's never really about the food. It's about a deeper issue, or maybe some part of your life that feels out of control, or there's something. And often there is a link with control. So I now am extra passionate in my consults about helping people get back to that place of eating well and eating healthy and eating from a place of being inspired to, do the best they can for their body, because food is powerful and it can be a powerful, powerful healing force in your life. And it sure was for me, on so many levels. But it can be taken too far, and it is being taken too far, and a lot of people are becoming sick because of it. Maybe it's not to the same extreme, or maybe it's to more of an extreme. I didn't end up in any hospital with tubes down my throat or nose, thank God. I didn't end up with anything, having a heart attack. I knew one girl who got so thin that, she had well, we don't know exactly why, but this girl had a heart attack in her sleep, and my thought was, her heart was working really hard when it wasn't being given any of the thing, this is what happens. When you're putting that much stress on your body all of the time, and you're depriving your body, that's a lot of stress on the heart. Anyways, the point is, a lot of people are struggling with this, and the problem is not you. And there's not a new diet that you need to do in order to be good enough, in order to be beautiful enough, in order for your body to be this, that. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has nothing to do with the food. And so next week, I want to tell you about some of the things that were powerful for me in terms of my healing and my moving not only into a place of balance, but into this place where I have moments I'm just like, whoa, I didn't even know I could feel like this again. I didn't even know that this was amazing. So you can use food and exercise and yoga in all of the best ways. But if you take those things too extreme, the medicine can become the poison. So again, guys, I know it's not sexy or trendy or the latest fad, but it is about finding balance. And that's why I love the group, because we're really spreading a lot of positivity in there, all around in there every single day. And that's what everybody needs. Everybody needs to feel supported and loved and accepted in order that they can move through their shit. Because you guys deserve to be free, just like I friggin' did. And it took me a long time to realize that I deserved that freedom too. So I hope on some level, hearing that I'm not perfect and that I've struggled and I've had some big issues, some crazy big issues, has been helpful to you. Because sometimes you guys will write me these comments that's just like, oh my gosh, this person thinks that I have it all figured out. They think I have it all dialed. It took me a long time. And now I really do just want to help as many of you with this kind of thing as I can. So if you're not already in my group, please join Tisha's group on Facebook. And for those of you who are already there, thanks for your beautiful little nudges in terms of encouraging me to share this today. I filmed a number of times and had like these little momentary breakdowns, and so it was a hard one for me, but once I got rolling, it felt really good to share as well. And yeah, I love you guys. Talk to you next week. Some good tools coming your way that I really hope will be helpful. Bye. Have a great week.